Part of what makes Magic great is the never-ending feeling of discovery as the game evolves and we evolve with it. We react to our local meta, we fine-tune our deck lists, we hone the tiniest aspects of our play skill.
Equipped creature gets +2/+1.
That's pretty cool. And I like the picture of the cutlass.
But it's so easy to get consumed wondering what's next that I forget what brought me to Magic to begin with.
There we go. There it goes.
And so I, Nathan Holt, your producer and humble narrator, embarked on a small journey to the state of Maine to remember why I first came to love Magic. My older brother Chris lives in Portland with his wife and son. He's 12 years older than me, and for most of my childhood, we grew up apart. But when we did live together, he taught me how to play Dungeons and Dragons. He was the one that got me hooked on fantasy gaming.
Oh yeah. I could totally destroy you with this deck.
Years later, I was thrilled to return the favor. I taught Chris and his son Duncan how to play Magic.
Put the target card from your graveyard on top of your library.
I loved watching them discover the game, piece by piece. You could almost see a light bulb turn on every time they figured something out. I miss that feeling.
So you're going first, and because it's more than 2 players,
I
you
get
get
to
to draw on your first turn, yeah.
Alright, here we go. Draw ring.
So I am Nathan Holt's older brother, living with him when he was young and continuing to be in close touch with him as he grew up was great.
I have the Frost Lynx. It's going to breathe a frosty breath.
We were separated by a lot in terms of age, having different mothers, but the time that I did spend with them, I did feel really did bond us.
And I will attack Nate with the Cleric of the Forward Order for 2.
I saw it coming. I'm at 18.
Sitting across from Nate and playing a game, it's funny. There's like there's an extra little electric charge.
Alright, so I'm gonna tap 4.
Because our family's always played games, whether it was a vicious croquet game or Monopoly. We enjoy the fun, friendly side of cutthroat competition and like to laugh at each other as we either beat each other or lose to each other. And this really carries it on.
I am going to attack Nate with all of this. Okay, so
It's easy to forget that lots of Magic players have never played in a Grand Prix, PTQ, or even Friday Night Magic. Their cards may be unsleeved and well-worn. The decks may be stored with rubber bands and have few, if any, mythic rares. Double-faced cards may sit in plain sight on the tops of libraries, and nobody cares, because the metagame is all in the family.
Orc Pirate. Costs 1 swamp and 1 mountain.
We're gonna climb into my brother's car now, drive all the way to the rural regions of Upper Maine. My sister's an early bird, so I hope she has coffee for me. All right, let's climb in.
On a chilly spring morning, Chris, Duncan, and I drive to my sister Gudrun's house. She lives in the deep woods of Maine in a very small town. Her kids play Magic too. I may have had something to do with that. I'd love to get a game in, you know, if my brother remembers how to get to our sister's house.
I'm going to back up and just double check that road.
Why don't we just pass Chisholm Pond Road?
I have gone down that road before and end up in the middle of the woods.
Right.
Chisholm Palm?
Pond. Chisholm Pond.
No, that's probably not it. You're filming me. This is great. The most embarrassing spot.
We are coming up on my sister's house and her family. Let's go inside, hang out, play some Magic. Come here, you. Big guy, high school student.
My older brother, Chris, and I played lots of games together. Dungeons and Dragons being one of them. I remember being, Princess Sapphire, right? Isn't that not Princess? What was she?
Priestess?
High Priestess Sapphire. I would be the little sister tagging along.
So these two are my allies, you know, for you, it's them two. So I'm just gonna be attacking you two.
Magic is great because Emma and Caleb, they're 6.5 years apart. And, you know, the little sister and the older brother, they don't always come together on what games they want to play, but Magic is one that they both agree on. It doesn't matter if you're old or young, boy or girl, we all get together and play.
What is our plan here? I don't know either.
And Uncle Nate was probably the one who introduced them to it, gave them their first deck of cards.
I'm gonna give John some sleep paralysis on this fella right here.
So he's snoozing.
I like to play green. I guess because I feel like you can amass like a pretty decent army with the green.
I prefer black because it's death and I like death.
Oh, nice.
What I like about competition is I like playing against other people and seeing their strengths and weaknesses so I can use their weaknesses against them and I can try and use my strengths to defeat their strengths.
Oh no!
Like on the field or in the court or on the table. Play a land and let's see, I have 3. What can I do? I like Magic because the art is really cool and there's definitely some serious competition.
Now, when he enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 till the end of turn. That means all of these have a +1/+1. Also brings this guy up to a 5/5, which means he's a 6/6.
Uncle Nate gives me packs every so often, and then sometimes he just gives me individual cards and says, hey, these would be good against your dad.
Okay, I'm ready to gang up on your dad.
What am I
I'm not
doing?
gonna attack you anymore.
What am I doing with?
It was pretty cool when I had my kid and he became Uncle Nate. We reappeared in each other's lives, and he was a young adult now. And then he started having kids, and we now bond about being fathers. That was a 4/4, right? So
16. I'm dead.
Dang.
I think he's
That's
steamrolling us.
Awesome.
It's really cool to have this game that we play together and have my son into it. Every once in a while we're playing, we text Uncle Nate, hey, we got a rule question. We need a ruling on something. And it's nice to make him the referee, to make him the judge, and I'm just another player. So it becomes a fun way to stay in touch in and of itself. And yeah, that's fun.
Coming back home to Philadelphia, I go back to my quote-unquote casual playgroup where we end games of Commander on turn 6 with fancy foils, and I have a renewed appreciation for the game. Magic is 25 years old now, and it's clear that it's adept at passing from one generation on to the next.
Perfect. So these pirates can go on the pirate ship. Any more that you want to put on the ship?
As a parent myself, I'm just starting to see my first glimpses of mini planeswalkers in the making.
Which one do you want?
I don't want this one.
Oh, that's a red Tyrannosaurus.